Greetings, everyone. This is Gilgamesh. And we've got a fairly simple verse today in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 1. It says here, Divrei Yirmiyahu ben Hilkiyahu min hakohanim asher ba'anatot ba'eretz binyamin. Okay, so let's take that apart. Roughly translated is the words of Jeremiah, son of, how do you say that in English? Hilkiyahu, from the priests which were in Anathoth in the land of Benjamin. Fairly straightforward verse. There's only one note for our apparatus here in Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. You see how there's an A here and an A over here at the end of this word. So these two words are covered by the apparatus here where it says the words of Jeremiah. It lets us know over here that in the Septuagint, it has a slightly different thing here. And my Greek is terrible. It says, tu hrema taudeo ho egeneto epi iremian. Sorry, that's horrible Greek. What it says here is the word of God, which came to Jeremiah. So instead of just simply saying the words of Jeremiah, it's identifying this as the word of God that came to Jeremiah in the Septuagint, but the Hebrew does not say that. It simply says the words of Jeremiah. So we have here divrei. Divrei is a masculine plural construct state here, so words of. And then Yirmiyahu is Jeremiah. You notice that we have like an extra syllable in Hebrew on both Jeremiah and on his father's name. That's a very common theophoric ending there from the Tetragrammaton, Yahu. So this means that the Lord has established, the Lord has founded, and he's the son of Hilkiyahu. And if we were to look at that here, we could see Hilkiah, father of Jeremiah. Yeah, it means the Lord is my part. The priestly family here, this is a name that is common among a couple of priests, and you can see that there. He's from the Kohanim. A Kohen is a priest, and so this is from the priests which were in Anathoth. And Anathoth here is a Levitical city in the tribe of Benjamin. And interestingly, it ends in ot, like a feminine plural, but it is not plural. It comes from the name, we believe, of the goddess Anat. This was a violent goddess. The great house of Anat is where we get the name of this city. So this priestly city was actually named after a pagan deity, which is interesting. So we have here, he was from the priests which were in Anathoth, as mentioned several times throughout the Hebrew Bible. And it's in the land of Benjamin. So this is the tribal portion of the area, the territory of Benjamin, and this Levitical city of Anathoth. So the Levites never really had their own territory in the land. They would have cities that would be set up in various places throughout all the other tribes. There's a lot of people that wonder if the Levites were really a tribe or if they were more of a profession, but they didn't have a land situation. They were hereditary, but they would have individual cities throughout the different tribes and tribal territories. Now, since this is such a simple verse here, I thought it would be interesting to take a look at what this looks like in a handwritten script. And so what this is the Leningrad Codex. The Leningrad Codex was written right around 1000 AD or 1000 CE, and it is the oldest complete copy of the Hebrew Bible in existence. There is one that is a few decades older called the Aleppo Codex, but portions of it have been destroyed. So this is the oldest one that is complete and intact, and this is the foundational text for Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, and most biblical translations trace back to this. This is what we refer to as the Ben Asher Masoretic tradition, and you can read it here. This is where it comes from, and it's essentially modern writing here. We have Divrei Yirmiyahu Ben. Notice that your final noon here is really kind of short and stubby. It doesn't really go down as much as we would expect it to. Hilkiyahu Min, again, short and stubby final noon here. HaKohanim Asher Ba'anatot Ba'eretz Binyamin. So you look here at HaKohanim, and you'll notice that the Hey looks a lot more like a Het. This is just the handwriting style that is in the Leningrad Codex. It was not such that the leg here was fully separated from the rest, although you see here this one's a little bit more separated. But then look at this right here, the Nun. So we have Kohanim, so we have the Nun here and the Yod. They're smashed together so that it almost looks like a Mem, doesn't it? But they're two separate letters. And then if we were to look down here at Binyamin, we have the same thing here. We have the Nun and we have the Yod smashed together. And not only do they look like a Mem, they are right next to a Mem. And looking at these two, they are quite similar. And this gets into some of the problems we have with reading these old texts. We have to be very careful with them. But you will also notice that they have all the vowel markings, and they also have various other diacritical marks here, the ta'amim, there's a munach there. They've got all of the regular things. There's the etnachta there. And these are on each of the words here has its own little cantillation mark showing how it was to be read. We also have these little circlets above the letters, and this is for the Masora Parva. And so as we see the circlet here above this, it's actually between these two words, it's between Divrei and Yirmiyahu. There's this little circlet here. So this applies to both those words together. We look over here, we see a dalet with a dot above it. Well, the numerical value of dalet is 4. It's the 4th letter of the alphabet. So what this is telling us is that this phrase, words of Jeremiah, occurs in the text 4 times. There is another one right here where it's again right between the words min hakohanim, from the priests, and this little circlet corresponds with the bet over here, and the dot above it tells us that this phrase from the priests occurs only twice in the entire Hebrew Bible. And then we have a final circlet over here over Binyamin. And we come over here, we have, this is a Kaf Vav Lamed. Notice how tall they like to make their lameds. You see that over here too. They really got crazy with the lameds. It was impressive. They had to really stand up above the line. But then the dot over here indicating that this is an abbreviation. And then over here, we have Het Mem. And this indicates that it is a defective spelling, meaning that in a lot of times when you see Benjamin, you have a yod between the mem and the nun, but here you do not. And so this is saying that it is usually shows up in this defective spelling. If we were to look at the rest of the Masorah on this, we would see it also indicates that it shows up, I think, 17 times with the yod here, but most of the time it is without the yod. So that's what it looks like in the oldest text we have, and this is the text from which most modern Bibles are printed. The Aleppo Codex looks very similar to this, and it's kind of fun because you can read it. These pictures are all available online. If you want to get access to them, you can go to Sefaria.org, and it has links and access to these images, so you can read it straight from a text that is well over 1,000 years old and is the oldest intact copy of the Hebrew Bible we have. And with a little bit of practice, it reads just as well as the modern printed editions. Anyway, that's all we've got today. We'll see you in the next one. If you like this information, please subscribe and hit the like button and join us over on Discord. Goodbye.